Yeah, we are joined by the charismatic McKeon. He is on the show with us right now, aka Jack the Ripper. Right off the bat, man, let me ask you this. Before we get into your origin story and the origins of Jack the Ripper, how do you feel about that song getting memed and getting spoofed all over TikTok?
Man, I love it. Yeah, because I mean, even the haters, it's good. Like that was the point of the song is to bring thought and to bring, if people have hate, it's supposed to, bring their hate up front in them because they need to address what's going on with how they feel. You know what I mean? And if people are willing to go on comments and, rip people apart for no reason, they need to look inward to see why they're doing that. It's a good character, you
No,
know?
I agree, and it helps that you answer the comments back, and I've seen you even repost them. Like some of the memes I've seen where you just reposting it, and it only helps engagement. You know what I mean? So for if you take it personal, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yep.
Exactly, exactly. So as I was saying before we got on the air, man, it's fun to watch because you seem like you're having a lot of fun with what you're doing. You seem very passionate about your music, and that just totally comes right through the screen. How long have you been making music?
So be honest, I've been doing music for 6 months.
Wow.
So I got sober 5 years ago, and the journey of sobriety. So I was an opiate addict for 15, 20 years. So like I had all this, I didn't know who I was when I got sober. So you get all these like insecurities, you get like uncomfortabilities. It's like it'd be like being born again, a newborn baby. So I started progressing and I did improv comedy to try and get over my fear of people. And like I'm this outgoing, loving dude, but like when I got sober, it was like I was scared of everything around me, So I started doing improv, and that's when I got into characters, and that's when I got into my goal is to make people laugh, and that was the point of Jack the Ripper. And that's what I loved about it was like it brought this factor of like shit talk, but then it's if you really look at it, it's my humor. You know what I mean? Like so, and with music, it's interpreted however the person wants to interpret it. It's not up to me to tell people what I'm saying. They need to interpret it and look within for what they want out of it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So you're leaving
That's
it.
that's kind of I'm gonna be fully honest. It's funny all this like this stigma of tough and like everything's tough. Everyone wants to be tough and a man. I was always had these fears my whole life and I hid them in drugs. And yes, I've been tough. I've been on the streets. I was homeless. I've been to prison and jail. Yes, whatever. But like I was scared to like do what I love. I was scared to be on camera and film and do these characters and say what I want to say. And, I have a homie that just pushed me and pushed me. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to die. Like, I should be dead, and I don't want to die without fulfilling what I love, So I want to spread my humor, my shit talking, and my love through my music. That's my goal.
Absolutely, man. So you've only been making music for 6 months, and
Yeah.
you already got this traction. So tell me about the inception of the Jack the Ripper song and how that came about in your catalog.
Yeah. So I made this track about, first one was Red Devil. It's about being a methadone addict. And I got my hair cut here in Denver and on my sobriety date of 4 years. And she's talking about her boyfriend being in a methadone clinic. And man, I went home and it brought back all these emotions and feelings. And it just like, I sat there and did the Red Devil. And I don't come out and really say what it's about, but it talks about being homeless, whatever. So I started posting that, and that's when I was like first posting, and I was scared to death of what people are going to say and think, because that's my raw self. You know what I mean? And then I posted another one about being in solitary confinement and how that felt and like how our society cages us in. I was a felon and I just got it expunged, but like, man, it was some dumb shit. And it held me back. You know, it kept me in this cage that society's putting us in, man. And some people kept saying some fucked up shit on my comments on both those two, where I was putting my heart and soul into this. And I was like sitting there and I was like, man, what if I was Jack the Ripper? Would you be talking shit? And that's when it spawned. And I was like, well, what if I was, you know? And man, I was bullied as a kid a lot. I lost my dad to at a young age, and just the bullying. And I got through it. And the only way I got through it was like being in Detroit and learning from the homies how to talk shit, right? You got your words. I'm not promoting violence. I'm promoting artistry and being artistic and using your gifts to overcome the hate, right? So, and I think that's my biggest message is like, what if I was, you know what I mean? All these people sit here talking shit. Well, would you talk shit to me if you were face to face and I was this guy? You wouldn't. So don't be telling me this shit on my comments when you don't even know me, you know what I mean? And I want to give that voice to all the kids being bullied, man. Like, gosh, everyone, you know, I love everyone. And like, I think they're getting that, you know. I think like they need to know like that it's okay to feel like you don't want to live anymore because life is so hard and you're being bullied every day. But I made it through, and so can they. You know what I mean? And it took me building these characters and escaping my current reality to survive that. You know what I mean? I have my humor from all my trauma, you know, like abuse as a kid. And that made me build like that quick humor, that shit talk. You know what I mean? And in Detroit, man, it's like, you know, if you don't got your words, you got nothing. You know what I mean? Like, people will fight, but like, if you can come back and make them, you know, like look at Eminem, that's how he learned, being bullied, you know, quick to the response, make it funny, make it jaw-dropping so people can't respond to you in hate. You know what I mean? You put them in their place, you know?
Right.
And it's, you know, I have a couple people recently, you know, I don't know if you'll have to sense this, but they're like, yourself. And I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know me. And so I got a new song coming out actually. And I'm going to use along the way a lot of the shit talking in my comments as my voice. Like, people call me Dr. House because I look like Dr. House. You know, I'm like, if you're going to talk some shit like that and say that shit to people, I'm going to be the one standing up for them. So I got Evil Dr. House coming out probably next Thursday or Friday.
Nice.
And man, that's gonna be raw and hard, dude. I'm gonna get some shit for it. But man, if any one kid or person out there hears it and says, damn, all right, maybe I can get through this, that's what I'm here for. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think it's really good that you use humor because it lowers people's defenses and it gets your message across better. And it's like there's so many other songs about there that are just gruesome and bloody, and that's cool. I love those things. But if you can make somebody laugh and make somebody smile, it just takes it to the next level. I mean, every time I saw the videos, I loved them. You know, I was like, I got to get this guy on the show. Like, this dude is funny. This is lit. Like, yeah, you give people that positive feeling and it will switch them around. And you see, even in your comments, you see people like, you know, I kind of fuck with this now. Like, I didn't like it at first, but I mess with it now, you know. And you're good at picking beats, which is very important. Like the beat you picked for Jack the Ripper 2 especially was really good. I wanted to zone in on something you said earlier though. So you were really in solitary confinement, or you just wrote that as something for the song?
No, yeah, I did 2 weeks in a solitary confinement. I was going through some shit. I was in jail and I threatened the guard. This was like the worst right before I was getting sober. And man, so you're like in this little cell. I think it was, I quoted it in my song, but I'm 6'2" and the cell is, I think, 6 foot. And they're metal beds and they take your mattress and then everything is cement and they take everything from you and they leave you toilet paper. and that's it. And it's freezing cold. You have nothing to cover yourself in. The floor is cold. The steel bed is cold. And you can hear everyone outside having fun. I know it's jail, but jail is fun. And they're out there laughing. And I'm stuck in this little box that's bigger than me, and I can't even lay down straight. And so I shoved toilet paper in my ear as deep as I could. And it was the wildest experience. It like made me face all of my hate and my anger and all the stuff I went through as a kid or all my life. And it transcends you into like, it's wild, man. I can't even explain it. Like, it's the deepest meditation because you're there so long without contact. You almost like have to transcend yourself to somewhere else. You know what I mean? And like, I just, I got through so much crazy stuff in my life. I mean, that'll come out one day. I'll, write a book or something, but I don't know how I got through it. You know what I mean? And I guess my biggest message is everyone can get through it. Like I dealt with suicide. My dad himself when I was a kid. And like, then I became this drug addict. And like, for so long, and I was raising my kids at the same time, and I was a fentanyl addict. I should be dead. There's no way I should be alive. You know what I mean? But I am. And like, so like, I think that's what people need to understand. Like this trauma and this stuff you go through is going to make you love life and make you appreciate it and find humor and joy and positivity in life. Because you have to find that when you're going through something like that. And I think my biggest thing is like the suicides and like the hate and like all these kids doing this stuff. It's like, man, if you just give it some time and get through it, your life's going to be okay. I've restarted my life 20 times from nothing, and I'm doing decent right now. I'm like, I work for a detox and I'm helping people get sober. And, people need to know that they're like, time is very short if you let it be, just to, I guess, allow the bad to happen and to get through it and to use it. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful stuff, man. Let me ask you, so are you going through withdrawals while in solitary too? Is that adding to the whole experience and the hell of it?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, dude, that was, I was in Kansas, and they don't give you anything in the jails or prisons there like they do in most states. So, you like I would end up being in the shower, in the cold shower, like going through withdrawals to like keep you from like freaking out, and yeah, it was hard to explain. So, I was never fully off of opiates for that whole period of time. Like doctors started me on it, and I was getting prescriptions, and then I was doing it illegally as well. So, that's why sobriety was so hard for me, because it altered every part of me. You know what I mean? Being on an opiate for that long a time. And so, yeah, just like, it is the most uncomfortable thing you could ever imagine, but you can get through it, right? So now, anytime I'm going through something, I have all these tools in my arsenal of like, man, do you remember when you were in solitary confinement? But it's like, people need to understand that's what I went through, but like them losing their pet or a grandparent is just as traumatic as me being in solitary withdrawing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's to each his own, and like everyone's, trauma or loss or grief is the same. You know what I mean? That's what I've learned in my journey and in the work I do now. Is like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. We all go through it as human beings together. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, part of me, this is such a broad question, but what does it look like raising two kids while in the depths of a fentanyl addiction? Like, what does that look? What does your day-to-day look like? Like, how bad does that get?
Yeah. So check it out in that Red Devil song I did. I talk about it. So I used to go to the methadone clinic every day. So that keeps you kind of grounded to not have to go get it on the streets as much. But you're still, like, as a drug addict, you're still going to buy it and do extra, But methadone is so strong that, like, I remember I would pick up you'd have to go every day, and that's what it's called. It's like every day, got me going in every day. And I'd have my kids in the car, and they were young. And man, when I first started, this is a government-run program, and I'd be driving home with my kids in the back in their car seats, and it would hit me, and I would have to pull in to some kind of parking lot because it would be making me fall out. And I would just fall out for like a good 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in my car with my kids. And there's no way around that. Like, it's wild. Like, you don't even know what to do. And like, back then they didn't have, I don't think New Mexico still has places to go get sober. They put you on methadone or Suboxone. And so, man, that's what my goal is. I'm going to be so honest in my music because that's what people really go through. You know what I mean? Not this poppy bullshit of like, oh, life's so hard, I broke up. It's like, man, I was falling out in my car with my kids in the car, and it was the government doing it to me. You know what I mean? And my kids know me, and they know what I've been through, and they're okay with it. And that's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? They love me, and they know my struggle, and it's helping them get through their struggles,
Wow. That's insane, dude. Was that rock bottom for you to get sober, or what really led you to get sober?
Yo, that wasn't even my first rock bottom. Oh, gosh. That was 15 years before I got sober, man. I got sober 5 years ago.
Congrats.
Coming up in August.
God bless.
Man, I had so many rock bottoms. I'm coming out with something eventually about that, just about what is a rock bottom, you know what I mean? Because my rock bottoms never had lows. And it took me, I was in jail doing I did about 7 months in jail, which is worse than prison, believe it or not. And they put me in prison for 3 months. And that was actually nice because you get to go out and you get to go in the yard and play. Like, I played soccer with the vatos and stuff. And jail, you're stuck in this big ass room with 50 dudes and you can't even get out. Like, you don't even see the sky. There's a homie in there for 2 years and he never saw the sky for 2 years, And that's what we live in right now, you know what I mean? But it was that, and I got out of prison, and my kids had moved to Denver, and I was in Kansas, and I was on probation, and I went right to a rehab for meth, and they let me stay on opiates because I had a prescription. And I did a year on parole probation on opiates, drinking, and somehow I got through that without failing a UA again. And man, my sister hit me up, and she was in California, and she was like, it was wild, man. She's just like, hey, you need to move out here right now before you die. And like, I literally got in my car that next day, and I was hitting up places for methadone in California, and some dude answered, and he's like, hey, yo, I could get you sober. That was the first time someone told me I could get sober in 20 years of addiction, because they always wanted to put you on something else. And dude, I drove right to that spot, and it's been ever since, man. Like, it was like, there's definitely a higher power, a God of whatever people want to believe in, but there's something out there that looks out for us, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. So you went to a rehab, and then that was finally you got sober.
Yup, and
in
that
Cali?
was my first time sober.
And that was in Cali, you said?
Yeah, and out in it was the Bluff, so it's like LA.
Okay. Now, what did you hate more, rehab or jail?
Dude, rehab's great, man.
Rehab's good?
Yeah, because, man, I was ready. So, like, I was on cloud 9 getting sober. Like,
okay,
it was the wildest feelings you could ever imagine. But, like, I was so excited to be, man, I was stuck in this life for 20 years that I never wanted. Do you get what I mean? Like, people think addiction's a choice. Man, I like in my other song, I was talking about the opiates was the first time I was hugged and loved and felt an embrace and felt love in my heart, because I had so much trauma and hate, and that was the first time I ever felt it was going to be okay. So like the drugs almost saved me and kept me going for that long. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying do drugs by any means, but like, you know, that's what saved my life too, you know?
What age was that? When did you take your first opiate?
Opiate was 18.
18. Okay. And what was it exactly?
Gosh, my first one, believe it or not. So it's opiate like, but you go down to Mexico and get it's Altram. It's like a knockoff tramadol. And back then you could just go down and carry your drugs over in bags. They didn't care.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the first time I felt that. And then I did Oxy at a party. And oh my gosh, it's like better than ecstasy. It was like Superman. You know?
That's a bad one. Bad.
But that's the problem is like it's this false reality, you know? And man, so my daughter just graduated high school.
Congrats.
And thank you. And we had a grad party, and that was a blessing, man. We had the whole like 4 families because there's, you know, new husband, my family, her family, blah, blah, blah. And man, I look at all these pictures of me with them growing up, and I'm just like fucked up in all of them. And it broke my heart.
Oh, man.
But I was a great dad, you know, for the time I was with them. I was gone, you know, time I was in jail and prison for like 2 years. I had gotten too bad, but the rest of the time I was there. And, you know, it was just like, it's just crazy to look back on. And there are these beautiful women now, you know, that are just like, the dopest people ever. And, you know, it was so sad that I was fucked up the whole time, but I was a good dad, you know? Like, it's weird. Opiates are weird, man, because you can live and you can be a normal. I was always had a job until it was at its worst. So it was like I was always there and present, but like you're really you. It was like the soul was gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard people explain it like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you ever have a moment where you like literally almost died? Like you could have been dead?
Lots of times.
Really?
I'm coming out with, I have Blackout. The first part is a song I did recently, and that's talking about going in and talking about Yayo doing cocaine and like how it took over everything. And the second part of that is talking about ecstasy or Molly. And that was the first time man, I was young. I think it was before my kids. So I was like 18, 19 and did a bunch of Molly. And we did this stupid thing where you all like breathe heavy together, holding each other's arms. And man, I just dropped and I hit the ground. And I remember being dragged down like to like almost like a hell kind of thing of something pulling me down. And I fought for life. And like you could hear everyone around you. And man, that was the first time. And gosh, that changed me. So I was this angry kid. It's weird how drugs take everything, but they give you stuff in return that you need. Like ecstasy brought me from this angry young man that would fight everyone, man. I was a big fighter. I'm Irish. I was a brawler, and I didn't take shit from anyone. I did ecstasy the first time, and it opened up the love to everything. Like I started loving people. I started stop wanting to fight. But I think that's not the drugs. It's more like it's just an experience that you need, that I got. So like normal people get that every day. I didn't because of all my trauma. You know what I mean? So like, again, I'm not saying do ecstasy because that shit's the worst for you, but you know what I mean? It brings parts of you, but then it takes away everything as well. Blackouts, you know, it's fun for me because what it's talking about is it's like doing these drugs and going to these parties, and I would always like pick up all these chicks and get everything I want. But the main woman the whole time was these drugs, you know, was the white girl, you know. And it's funny, people don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about white girl. Or like Molly is my second one, you know, that's coming out soon. And I would always pick the drug over women that I really wanted to hang out with and find a girlfriend or have a relationship. So like I was married to my kid's mom for like a year and a half, 2 years when we were super young. And then I had one other relationship, and I haven't had any other major relationships because I couldn't. Because like drugs is all you care about. You know what I mean? Like, and I was raising my kids too, but like the drugs really take away. That was the woman, the love of my life, you know? So
Wow. Wow. That story you told me about, and just this whole conversation about Molly, we talked about how we're both Tech Nine fans. I don't know if you remember, one of my favorite songs is T9X, where it's the story of him talking about the night where he just does every single drug under the sun, and that's the night that he almost OD'd too. I don't know if you remember that song, but that's like, if you guys never heard T9X by Tech Nine, it's like one of the best songs. I put my brother-in-law onto it. He still listens to it. Such a fucking banger, man. So you probably have like just stories for days. You should totally write a book, man. You probably got stories for days. And so you must have been really throwing down in jail if you like to fight, right? So you must have been like throwing down.
Nah, not at that point. No, that was later. So I was older. I was like 35, and then like I was so full of rage that like no one wanted to fuck with me. You know what I mean? Because you know, you have this like again in Blackout, I talk about here comes my inner demon Mckeon, you know, and my voice changes. Man, when I had that rage, people wouldn't want to be around me because there's something else, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people relate to that. Like, you know, unless it really came up where I had to protect my family sober, I would never become that thing again. But like, I was dealing with a lot of grief and loss in jail and prison, so like. You know, I've never been scared of anyone, man. I had a stepdad as a kid that would beat the shit out of me, and this dude was the biggest man I've ever met in my life. And after you get through that, it's like, who are you afraid of after that? So like, I think that's what protected me a lot. Was like, I'm not scared of anyone. You know what I mean? Why?
Right.
You know, just like, there's no reason to live in fear, I think, in life. You know what I mean? There's too much other bullshit going on. Like, I think so. No, I never had to fight. I almost did a couple times, but like, I used to get this look in my eyes, man, where people are just like, hey, I'm not fucking with that dude. Jack the Ripper.
That's
you know
right,
what I mean?
So you must channel that energy a lot into some of your music, I'm assuming, right? Because that stuff never dies, like that rage, you know, hopefully for some people it does, but I know what you mean by that, you know, and creating things myself, like music and all kinds of stuff. That's a lot of times where that ends up. If you're smart about it, you know, you can channel it there and then just release it there. So am I right in that assumption? That's where a lot of your rage goes now? Yeah.
Check it out. So when I did improv, they make you play these characters, or the worst and the hardest for me was they make you go through emotions and actually act out these emotions, right? I was scared to death of anger and rage. I wouldn't do it. It shut me down. And the teacher was like, kept working with me, and they would say, hey, this is your opportunity to make it someone else's rage, right? You're acting and you're making a fake rage. So you can actually let your own rage out, and it's not gonna be your personal inner rage. And so that just like clicked with me, and like, man, that's probably the biggest point of all this is like, that's what I want to promote and teach is like, through art, you can get rid of your hate, anger, and rage. You know what I mean? In a healthy environment, and that's what the arts are for, you know? Like all the best artists, that's what they do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, I don't feel that. I haven't felt that rage sober once because I've learned to like put it in other stuff, you know?
Right.
And I started feeling that when people were telling me to kill myself in my comments, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? Instead of doing this, I'm going to go find you thing and, you know, do exactly what you're telling me to do and become this person and this criminal. I'm going to play this back on you, and I'm going to show you what you should really do. You know what I mean? Is write something and use my expression of who I am to safely, I guess, extinguish that hate and that anger.
Yeah, like you just transmuted it and used it for the positive, which is great. You know, and then it just in turn makes others happy, and it just creates a better cycle than you using it to just put more hate out there, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of creating things, I always hated, and to this day I still would hate, to make music videos. but you look like you love making music videos. Am I wrong on that?
Dude, I was so scared of the camera. So my dad, man, I have one picture of him because he wouldn't be in front of cameras. Man, I'm an attention whore. Always have been. You know what I mean? It's weird, like bougie motherfucker. I don't know if you've heard that one, but that's my story of like, dude, everywhere I go, people turn their head and look at me. You know what I mean? And I was so sick of like, I'm like, you can live in fear and like not do what you love because these dudes are on my comments are being like, hey, you look like an idiot. Hey, I can't believe this grown man is dressed in a character. Hey. Dude, I had the balls to be a character and dress in Jack the Ripper gear and wear a zombie mask because I love it. It makes me smile. It makes me happy. You know, I put out the bloopers of it. Me and my boy had so much fun filming that shit. And like, it puts a smile on my face, man. And it makes me laugh. You know what I mean? Even though people are like, yeah, this is tough. Yeah, it is. But like, it's funny as fuck too. You know, it's like, that's, I want humor and tough and whatever, you know, it's like, just whatever it wants to be, you know?
How long till after you posted it did the song start to get traction and people start, reposting it and commenting on it and all that stuff?
Gosh, you know what's crazy, man? Is like when I made Jack the Ripper, I mean, people are going to laugh at this and talk shit, but it's so true. Like, it is the quickest song I've ever made. And I found the beat. People talk shit about the beat I used. Well, it was actually a beat called Jack the Ripper that I typed in and found. And it was from one of the best beat makers out there. And I hit him up and I was like, I'm going to use this beat. And it's actually about Jack the Ripper. You know what I mean? And I wrote it so quick and put it down because I just felt it. And it's the weirdest thing. You just know I just knew it was going to happen, but I didn't want it to blow up because I had all these fears, right? And I was like, man, what are people going to think? That was the first time I put myself out there 100%. And I was like, you know what? Fuck the world. Fuck everyone. I'm doing me and no one is going to stop me. And I talked to my kids and I was like, hey, are you guys cool with your dad becoming Jack the Ripper? I showed them the video and they loved it. And my daughter was like, what if my dad was? And like, it became this joke and I posted it and dude, that thing fucking lit up in the first like couple minutes. It was wild, dude. I didn't believe it. I kept hitting up my boy and I was like, yo, dude, this thing is not stopping. And he was like, and I had all these fears. I was like, man, what are people going to think that I know? Man, are they going to talk shit? My Irish Catholic family, are they going to be like, what the fuck is he doing? And he was like, man, this is some shit that needs to be said. You know what I mean? Like I just did a Diddy diss and I'm going to do more videos on that. But like, man, that shit needs to be brought up in society. Like we have a fucked up society we live in the United States of America. This horrible shit needs to be talked about and I'm going to joke about it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what spawned it all, you know?
Yeah, we need more people being themselves, man. And that's why I think like TikTok is so fun is because it seems like people do that more on that app for some reason. Like people are more free. People are more free to say stuff. And that's why I feel like I see your stuff more on there. I've seen it on Instagram here and there, but I feel like I see it more on TikTok because it's just a different zone, you know? So
it is.
Go ahead. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I'm not really messing with anything but TikTok anymore because like it's just already built up and like they don't promote new stuff. Man, and TikTok's fun, bro. You're right. Like it is a lot of kids, but man, this generation, we have all this generational bullshit. These younger generations are amazing. Like the stuff they're coming up with and like the love and the support they have for each other is stuff we didn't have. Like, man, I was in the store today and there's these like 17-year-old kids. They're men. And they're like, later, bro, I love you. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Are you serious? Like, if we said I love you, we were whatever, you know? And so it's like, man, I'm sick of hearing all that generational hate shit. Cause it's like, I mean, yeah, my uncle used to talk shit about our generation. You know what I mean? They're like, whatever. It's kind of a joke, but it's like, man, people need to sit back and let these kids do what they want to do because they're powerful. You know, I think there's a lot of cool shit coming. You know what I mean?
Right, right. So what was the thought behind making the sequel to Jack the Ripper? I'm sure a lot of people thought like, oh, is he gonna do it? Can you top the original? Like, what was your thought process behind that one?
Yeah, it's like it's funny. People only hear one song and they're like, "Oh, this is trash." And I'm like, "Well, did you listen to my other stuff?" And they don't. You know, and I was like, "You know what? I'm going to take all their shitty comments and I'm going to put them in a song, and this is the sequel." I'm working on something, so this is crazy, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this one. But people already want Jack the Ripper 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And it's been a week and a half. So my boy sent me this ad to a video game, a PC game called I Am Ripper. And so I wrote a song called I Am Ripper, and I'm going to try and, put it out there and see if this game will pick it up. But I think that one's a piece of art, man. The beat I use on that is, oh my gosh. And that's getting more. And it's funny, people are like, oh, you're too corny or PG. And I'm like, man, it's harder to write corny PG shit than it is to just swear.
It's harder. Yeah, Dude, definitely. To like so censor hard. Yourself and not go all the way and say like the most gruesome stuff or the crazy stuff. It definitely is. It's way harder.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's what's fun, is trying to get that people, their emotions the same way as you would straight up say fuck you to them by saying something corny. I think they get more emotional over corny, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm a generational gap, who I am. That's how I've always been. Like I used to like hanging out with older dudes instead of my age. And now I I'm good with all the generations. Right. And I think that's important because it's like, man, I don't want to be stuck in my life. Like people are like, oh, he's a middle-aged man. I'm like, so fucking what, bro? When I'm 80, I'm going to dress up and I'm going to fucking do whatever I want. You know what I mean? Because this makes me happy. And I think that's what's great about TikTok and the videos and like social media. It's allowing people to, like you said, embrace the corniness and like, it's easier to be on a screen and doing something goofy and put it out there than doing it in real life, right? And that's what's great. It's bringing out the artistry in millions and millions of people, Look at Jam Wayne's a new guy. He just came out a couple years ago, and he's got all gray hair, man, and I rock that. Like, this whole, like, where women have to dye their hair and wear makeup. It's like, man, people are sexy when they're authentic. You know what I mean? And it's like, rocking that gray hair, like I'm not dyeing my hair, like I don't give a shit, And the first Jack the Ripper, I had the gray in my beard, and it was like I rocked that in the first video because like that was me fully telling myself, all right, I'm gonna put this out with my authentic self and my age, right? And then I'll be comfortable doing whatever afterwards. You know what I mean? Right. I have this homie in LA, and he's pretty big, and this is funny, man. I'm not going to say who it was, but I was talking to him about comedy and, I always wanted to do music, but I was always too scared. And he was like, dude, he's a very big guy and he does the craziest shit on TV and everyone knows who he is. And he was like, man, I did a OnlyFans, and I was completely naked. And so that's the rawest I could ever be in front of the world. And like after that, everything was easy, and it was like, bing. It's just like, who's holding you back in life? Yourself. No one else is.
Right.
And God, that's the most freeing thing. I did drugs because I was so uncomfortable with who I was and in my own skin. And like, I was afraid of everything, even though I am this tough dude. And like, I've live this street life and this, whatever. It's like, man, I wasn't this tough dude inside. But now I don't care about being tough because I'm me now. and I don't need a drug to tell me to be me. And dude, that is, gosh. And these kids, I think because of their parents were all drug addicts like me or alcoholics, or they saw this trauma, like they're not interested in drinking anymore as much as they were. Like, and dude, that's a beauty. Like, I love that, you know?
Yeah, I saw an exact study on that they're buying less alcohol and they're not really into drinking. When I grew up, everybody was drinking all the
Dude,
time.
I wanted to be a heroin addict when I grew up. Like, that was the thing.
Oh my God, that was your goal. Oh, shit.
Yes, right?
Wow, man.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So, got two more questions for you as we wrap this up. Number one is, we talked a lot about this already, but just to consolidate this and let everybody know, what exciting things do you have coming?
Yeah, I got a lot coming, man. Yeah, I mean, I work full time still, and I don't see that changing very soon. So it's hard for me to like concentrate fully. But like, um, it's funny. I'm a grown ass man, but I'm about to move into my own apartment finally, you know, and have my own space. Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude.
and
Congrats,
so
man. It's the best.
gosh, yeah, this music thing is just like all I love to do. And I've got a homie that like supports me and helps me through it all. And so I got the full blackout coming, and I'm loving the second part. And then I've got I Am Ripper coming, Evil Dr. House, because everyone calls me Dr. House. So it's funny. Sorry to interrupt the question, but like the comments and the shit talking is actually fueling a lot of my songs and my artistry, and I love that. I've got another one. You know, I'm gonna talk a lot about this time I did mushrooms, and you know, the police came at me, and I made that one really fun. I did that a while ago, but I haven't finished it, so that's gonna be coming up. I have all this stuff. It's just, you know, trying to get the time to do it. You know what I mean? So I've got I Am Ripper and Jack the Ripper 3 almost done. But these attention seeking people that like have the attention span like this, they need to chill for a sec. You know what I mean? I can't be dropping Jack the Ripper every week.
They want a Jack the Ripper album already. They want the whole album.
I know they do.
And then finally, man, so as we talked about, you know, your history with drugs, and thank God you're 5 years sober now. So what would you say to somebody that's in the throes of addiction right now?
Man, gosh, I could go on for years and years, but like, you're not alone. And there are so many people that feel the same way that you do. And just reach out to someone and find a community, you know, just like, and just tell people how you really feel, and tell people that you have a problem. Cause I ran from that, and I thought I lied to everyone, and I was alone. And man, when I got into a rehab and everyone was the same as me and going through the same shit, I felt at peace, you know? So like, just reach out to people, and people might be, you know, there might be some crazy mean people out there, but there's a lot of loving, good people in this world. And I think we need to start uniting together, you know, with all this different races and, you know, religions. Man, we need we're all people. I've been to a lot of places in this world, and on the streets and all over the gutter, whatever. And everyone's the same. We're all people. And believe it or not, they're doing the same thing we are right now, no matter where they are. And you know what? So I think we need to bridge that gap of this hate for no reason, because we are all the same inside. You know what I mean? And with addiction, just like, man, that's what I do for a living right now, is I help people get off the street and get clean. And that's always going to be my passion, man. So like, I think, you know, if anyone really truly needs help or needs to talk, yo, hit me up on TikTok for real though. Like, DM me. I get a lot of birthday requests right now, and I'm going to keep doing those as long as I can. But like, if you really need to talk and you don't have anyone, please reach out, hit me up. I'll answer you. It might take a minute, but I'll hit you back.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Well, congrats on 5 years sober, man. Congrats on the new apartment, your daughter's graduation. Congrats on all the success. We wish you way more success in the future, man. Good luck on all the projects. And thank you for coming on and absolutely killing it, dude. Please plug your socials and everything before we get out of here.
First podcast ever. What's up?
Plug the TikTok and all that stuff before we get out of here.
Yeah. So just Mckeon with the crazy E in there. And I'm on all streaming services. A lot of people ask that. I put everything on streaming services. So as far as like the Spotify and Apple Music, everything's Mckeon. And I'm starting to be able to be found easier. I know I use that crazy E because other people used Mckeon for their basic accounts, and I wanted to be different. You know what I mean? So yeah, check me out. Just or type in Jack the Ripper and I'll come up.
Hell yeah. Peace and love. See you next time.